Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on The Flash Season 3. So over the opening 2 episodes of Season 3 of The Flash, we have been introduced to one of the big bads for this season, that being Dr. Alchemy. This was first in the season premiere as he wakes up Edward Claris from his sleep, and then again in many more scenes throughout episode 2 as Edward Claris actually meets with Dr. Alchemy and is given the powers that his Flashpoint version had. And later again in that same episode when he introduces himself to the Flash for the first time. Now I did do a video like ages ago on Dr. Alchemy. I think it was around the time that he was actually announced for this season, like around Comic-Con time. And that was going over the details of the character and the different versions of him. So I will be repeating some info from that video. So I am sorry for any repetition if you have actually seen that video previously or recently as well. Now there have been 3 iterations of Dr. Alchemy throughout the comics, but we are going to completely disregard the third one, which is Curtis Engstrom, in this video and only basically bring up the second one, Alex Petrov, like for a brief moment. Now what I think is pretty clear on the show is that the Dr. Alchemy we are seeing is based off the original Dr. Alchemy, which is Albert Desmond, with little parts of Alex Petrov, who as I said before is the second Dr. Alchemy. So some of his story put into this Dr. Alchemy's as well. And this is going off this theory obviously, but Petrov worked as a lab assistant in the comics, not like what we have seen with Julian Albert on the show, as he has like a proper title within the CSI unit. He's not an assistant, so he's not like a lower down in the CCPD. But Albert Desmond basically had like a split personality disorder, where one side was good and the other was, well, not so good. He had a pretty bad side. What happened was that his bad side took more control and started creating different weapons to take on the Flash with, which ended up with him going to jail, and then while in jail he learns of the Philosopher's Stone, and that's when he officially becomes Dr. Alchemy when he gets out and finds the Philosopher's Stone. We've actually seen the Philosopher's Stone twice, or at least we're led to believe it's the Philosopher's Stone. It actually hasn't been confirmed yet, but we saw it on this Spire thing, and then again when Dr. Alchemy first encounters the Flash, and shoots a blast from it into Barry. Now from what I remember, that doesn't happen with it in the comics, so it will be interesting to see what else this stone can do. So it would not surprise me in the slightest if on the show they do decide to go with the whole split personality disorder thing. But when it comes down to it, who is the person whose other half is actually the cloaked and masked villain known as Dr. Alchemy? There's an obvious answer to this, I know, but some people have commented other suggestions, such as like Eddie Thorne, Dante Ramone, like Cisco's brother that we are led to believe has died, as well as obviously like the Harrison Wells, because Harrison Wells can always be a suspect. But as I said before, we're going to be talking about Julian Albert, which of course is the obvious one which a lot of people have been suggesting, and is the one that has been showing the most evidence obviously, which we will go over in this video as well. But obviously Julian Albert is the new metahuman CSI specialist and the new like roommate, if you want to call it that, to Barry at the Central City Police Department. Now as soon as Dr. Alchemy was announced and then we heard that Tom Felton was joining the cast as well. Actually I think it was the other way around. I think Tom Felton was announced and then they announced Dr. Alchemy. But anyway, with these 2 pieces of news put together, most of us could put 2 and 2 together and come to the conclusion that his character, Julian Albert, would in fact turn out to be Dr. Alchemy come the end of the season. But apart from the whole character announcement and the casting announcement coincidence, there is some stuff that does point to Julian Albert being Dr. Alchemy that we've already seen on the show. Now I guess one of the most important things to bring up is that it is only episode 2. Like when I'm making this video, only 2 episodes have aired, so we are only taking information and evidence from the first 2 episodes. Now the first Julian Albert to Dr. Alchemy link to go over is the mystery around his name. And you might be wondering, what mystery? Well, as I said before, Dr. Alchemy's real name was Albert Desmond. So you have Albert Desmond and Julian Albert. This may be the show's way of linking the 2. However, one interesting thing to bring up is the fact that when Tom Felton's casting was initially announced for Season 3 of The Flash, he was announced as the character of Julian Dawn, not Albert. Then at Comic-Con, Tom Felton said that his character's name was actually Julian Albert. Now I think this was the first time we heard the name Julian Albert, so I actually made a video saying, okay, did he just accidentally leak that he's Dr. Alchemy? Because we were all led to believe that his name was Julian Dawn, and then in this one interview at Comic-Con he said that his name is Julian Albert. And as soon as I heard the name Albert, I was like, okay, Dr. Alchemy straight away. So sometime between the initial announcement of Julian Dawn and then San Diego Comic-Con, they have changed the name. But why? I personally think it was just to connect the two characters or personas of Julian and Dr. Alchemy together. You never know, it just might have been an aesthetic thing, or maybe they just didn't like the sound of Julian Dawn and decided to give him a better name. But the fact that they did change it is a bit suspicious. Another link with Julian to Dr. Alchemy is their interest in metahumans. Julian, as I stated before, is a metahuman CSI specialist, and then Dr. Alchemy is able to bring metahumans to their true potential, like we saw with the rival in episode 2, and I'm sure we'll see with more metahumans down the road in this season. It will be interesting to see over the next few episodes if we get any more hints to this similarity of theirs. Like if there's something that Dr. Alchemy does, and then like there's something that Julian does that's sort of similar. As I said earlier, Dr. Alchemy suffered from a split personality of sorts, and it's what we should expect if Julian does end up being Dr. Alchemy. Possibly with Julian not realizing what he is doing as Dr. Alchemy is real. He just thinks that it's a dream or some sort of vision. One thing from episode 2 that could possibly go against this though is when Barry actually goes to Julian's desk at night and asks him for information on Edward Claris's husk, which Barry gets and finds out where it originated from. This is when Barry then speeds off and goes to this location once again at night, where he is met by both the rival and Dr. Alchemy. But if Julian is Dr. Alchemy, how could he have gotten to that location so fast, basically a couple of seconds after Barry did? Sure, the rival could have picked him up and taken him there, but even that could be seen as a stretch, trying to theorize things and saying how he could have got there. That's a big stretch. Then again, the editing of the show may be misleading, and possibly Barry didn't go straight to there from the CCPD. He might have gone to Big Belly Burger, gotten a big burger and some fries. But as I said, he does meet Julian at night at the CCPD, then takes on the rival and Dr. Alchemy at nighttime as well. And then you got to remember that Team Flash were all still at Star Lab, so it couldn't have been too late at night. So the time frame here isn't too big for Julian to have left CCPD and ended up where the rival and the Flash fought. But let me know what you think of that. Do you think it was just an editing mistake or just misleading editing? Because this could be a clue as to say that Julian Albert maybe isn't Dr. Alchemy. But as I said, only 2 episodes have come out. You never know, in episode 3 he could pull off the mask and it's Julian Albert, but I doubt that's going to happen. I think we will get the Dr. Alchemy reveal pretty early on. I'm not saying episode 8 or episode 9, but it wouldn't surprise me if we got in an episode 12 or episode 13 or something. Because you've got to remember that there's 2 big bads this season. There's Dr. Alchemy, and then there's Savitar as well. We did see at the end of episode 2 when he attacks Edward Claris in that cell at Iron Heights. But thanks for watching, guys. Leave your opinions in the comment section below. Do you think that Julian Albert is Dr. Alchemy? Is there any major points that I missed over? Did I just skip anything that I should have brought up? Or do you think there's another clue that suggests that it could be another character? Or do you think it's someone that we haven't even been introduced to yet? Leave any opinions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.